All right guys, so here we are. I've come down to a good mate of ours in Brisbane at Queensland T-shirt company. Now they've got all three types of printing. They've got the screen printing, which you can see behind us here. Callum's doing some prints so you can see it in action. We've got DTG as well and DTF all in one business. So we actually get to see how a single business can use the different types of printing processes for different customer orders. Now, first off, screen printing. We're in the screen print room right here. What is screen printing? Now, it's one of those real traditional garment t-shirt printing processes. Been done for decades, guys. And if we look behind, it's done using an ink, typically a plastisol ink, and it's printing and squeezing that ink through a mesh down onto the garment that you're printing, right? So it's using a big screen that's a mesh and it's had a stencil made on it. I'm gonna show you how that's actually done also as well. And guys, you're literally squeezing the ink through onto the t-shirt or onto the garment. You might do a couple of passes. Now, once you've squeezed that color through, goes around, you can see there's a flash curing over on the other side over there, which sort of makes it touch dry. And then if we have a look here, just behind Callum, what we've got is a curing dryer. Now guys, from a size point of view, what you can see straight up is this is quite a big space. It's quite a big equipment, machinery operation here in terms of the printing, right? But it can be very quick, can be very fast in the way that it's getting through its garments. And so really good for those one color, two color designs where you don't have a lot of setup, but you can just repeat time and time again. You could do 10, 20, 100, 1,000, 10,000, okay? So guys, what I'm gonna show you, this is the printing process. You can see right here, using a squeegee, ink through onto the t-shirt. Garments then go over here, they're gonna be cured. Now before this, we've got to ask ourselves, see this frame here, this screen, how is that made? Because that's part of that setup process. Well, we do that over here. We're gonna squeeze past Callum, we're gonna go over here. Now, guys, just around the corner, come down this way, and here you can see the guys are using actually latest technology right now to create that screen, okay? So they're digitally printing an image onto the screen. What that's going to do is it's going to then be able to take that screen and expose it. And from there, we're gonna be washing it out. And what you're left with is you're left with a screen here that has a stencil in it of just clean mesh that allows the ink to print through, okay? And that's what you saw Callum doing earlier. This here is called emulsion, okay? And this is a UV activated emulsion. So obviously when you print the image on, we harden the emulsion, we're then able to wash out the print and it leaves you just that mesh right there. Cool, guys. Now, obviously you can see here, we've got another dryer. There's another more sophisticated screen printing unit down here. This one here, able to do a higher number of colors, that sort of thing. So you can see the number of actual screen units that you've got on there. Now guys, why is screen printing and what type of job is screen printing good for? It's good for those t-shirt run, the traditional sort of garments like cotton garments and cotton tops and things like that. It's where you want fewer colors, but higher volume runs, okay? You don't want to be screen printing 1s or 2s or 5 units or even 10 units because there's actually, as you can see, quite a lot of setup that goes on to doing a screen printed job, right? So it's designed for those higher volume runs. And to keep your costs down, if you guys can be doing 1 color, 2 color jobs via screen print, then of course, that's where that screen print sort of printing process is best suited. So guys, okay, so that's screen printing. Now, in this particular business here, it's all about a volumes game. The type of orders that come in, any order that comes in that's 1 color, 2 color, or 3 color, but high volume, very repetitive, the same design on lots of garments, that comes through their screen printing department, because this type of printing is best suited for that sort of order. Now guys, I'm going to take you on now through to their DTG area, where it's very commercial setup. Okay, this is really a great space to show you DTG. You can obviously get much smaller machines than what we're going to show you here, but just to show you how DTG can really be used in a commercial space. Now the type of orders that they get for DTG are the one-offs, the 1, the 2, the 3, and onto your t-shirts and fashion and uniforms and things like that. So let's go have a look. All right guys, so here we are, we're in the DTG area. Now DTG stands for direct to garment. Now direct to garment came about good 10, 15 odd years ago, and it's where computers came in and obviously full color designs and things like that. And it was a question of how do we get full color onto t-shirts, you know, cotton, natural fibers. That's what sort of it was about 15 years ago. And they've worked out how to literally take a printer, like an inkjet printer, and print that ink directly onto a t-shirt. Now guys, the machines that we see behind here are some of the best machines. They're the Cornet range here, and they're doing high volumes of garments. But what they're actually doing is very low runs on different designs. So where the DTG sort of space really sits is doing one-offs, doing 1, 2, 3 of a particular design onto your t-shirts, onto your fleeces, your hoodies, onto natural fibers, okay? Where DTG is not as great is onto those synthetics and polys and things like that, just from a washing and color sort of point of view. But natural fibers, it's great. Now guys, if we can see here, a business like this, obviously we just saw screen printing is using the screen print process for high volume runs and only few colors. Any orders that come in where they want full color designs or big prints, little prints, that doesn't matter. It's lots of colors, full color, and it's also short run. That's where we're using the DTG machines behind us here to get those orders out, because it's so fast to print. For DTG, you don't have a huge amount of setup, certainly not from a graphics point of view. It's obviously taking that artwork, putting it into the software and pressing print so that it can start. Now, something that you see here, these machines are printing. What they do need to do is they do need to pre-treat the garments. Now, these machines here are doing it in the back of the machine. It's all enclosed, that sort of thing. But the smaller machines, the Brothers and the Epsons and a lot of the smaller machines that we have in our own shops, you have a pre-treat system that is separate, okay? So that's stage 1, pre-treat the actual garment itself, which is just putting like a solution onto the fibers of the garment that's going to help the ink bond. The next process is obviously printing down. Now, when we're printing onto t-shirts here, you'll see going onto dark colors, onto colored garments, they've got to print down a white base first. So you have a thick white layer going down, and then you have the color on top. Okay, once that printing is done, we've then got to cure the shirt itself. So we see these bigger dryers off to our side, guys, and you can see the size of them here. These garments are all going through that curing process where they're fixating that ink onto the actual garment itself. So when we think about space, when we think about process, DTG, although it's much faster in the setup and it's designed for doing those one-offs, those fewer runs, units, you still need to have your pre-treat. You do need to have your DTG machine, the direct-to-garment machine, and then you do need to have that curing unit as well before the garment is actually finished. So quite a bit of a space that you've got to have, and also the investment into the equipment. Also, there's dollars involved in all of that process and time as well in getting it right. Now guys, why don't we just have a bit of a look and we'll show you some of these jobs actually being printed right now. All right guys, so as you saw DTG, it's really fast at setting up and you can change from one design to another design really quickly in this printing process. So as a consumer, if you're getting designs, if you're getting small runs, 1, 2, 3, or multiple different designs onto cotton t-shirts and those natural fibers, then DTG is a great choice for you to send for that type of printing decoration. As you can see, coming off the back of this dryer right here, you can see all the different types of designs. It's not one design and lots of, it's lots of different types of designs. So that's what DTG is really good for, that fashion or uniform onto natural fibers, particularly t-shirts and jumpers and things like that, short runs, full color. Guys, the next thing we're gonna move on to is DTF. Now, DTF is the latest craze in garment decoration. Everybody's talking about it, and it's direct to film, and it's all about taking that digital artwork, that digital file, full color, but producing a transfer first that is then heat applied on. Guys, we're gonna whip in here. Queensland T-shirt Company has all three, so we're gonna be able to go into a different room and show you exactly how those are made and why they choose DTF transfers for certain types of customer orders. Let's go and have a look. All right, guys, so here we are now. We're in the DTF. Now, DTF room stands for direct to film, okay? It's an iteration of direct to garment, where obviously they're printing directly onto the t-shirt, directly onto the fabric, whereas direct to film has a second stage. And instead of printing directly onto the product, they're printing onto the film, onto a plastic liner, okay, which is creating a transfer, which is then heat applied onto a garment later. Now, there is a huge number of reasons why this is a big advancement in garment decoration. First off, not only are you able to do obviously short runs, full color, that sort of thing, but also it's easy to do the higher runs as well, because it's a real production volume sort of printing process. As you can see here, where they're printing away onto the film. It's a roll film, so a bit like any roll-fed digital transfer production that you've done in the past. The only difference is there's no cutting or weeding or anything of these transfers. What we're doing is we're using the old DTG or the current DTG technology, the similar sort of inks that are printed directly onto the fabric, printed onto the film, but in a reverse, so colored down, and then the white is printed behind. Once the white is printed, it goes through a powdering process where the glue is applied. So we are putting glue onto the back of this ink, and then it's cured in a curing process through like this dryer right here. So as you can see, all of the printing processes so far require a curing process, okay? But what you'll notice from this one, it's significantly smaller, okay? So for an area of printing to produce prints, DTF transfers are significantly easier to print in a smaller space, okay? What you'll see when the prints come out, they look just like this transfer that I've got in my hand right now, okay? So this here is a DTF transfer, okay? This plastic will be removed once it's heat pressed, and I'll show you how it's heat pressed on, okay? And the ink you can see on the back, it's got a white backing, and then there's glue that's actually been melted onto the back of that transfer right there. And that is all done through this process, as you see right here behind me. Now guys, why has DTF come about? Well, because it's giving the access of full color digital printing that's able to be done in many shops, screen printers, embroiderers. It can be done in uniform shops, that sort of thing. The machines are becoming smaller and more accessible for so many people who can create commercial grade wearable transfers that can be easily applied onto a garment. And as you can see, like I said, it's not taking up a huge amount of space. It is relatively clean. There's minimal setup in the way that we do the artwork. There's no screens needing to be made or anything like that. It's literally digital from the computer, full color design. We're pressing print and it's printing out the transfer, all powdered through this system right here. With the DTF process, there is the ability to buy separate printers and powder machines as well. You can do it on flatbeds, you can do it where you're printing onto a sheet, and then that sheet can be powdered by hand and then put through a separate baking unit. So smaller, more, wouldn't say necessarily domestic, but certainly much smaller setups can be achieved with this DTF process. Now, guys, a lot of people ask us, what's the quality like? Well, the quality, obviously, it's very new technology, but it's certainly coming along, and it's using that DTG technology that's been around for so many years and been refined down. So the inks are certainly washable grade inks, and the glues that we're using are the same glues used on so many very successful transfers, the ultra color transfer, your plastisol transfers. It's all the same glues that are bonding those transfers onto your garments that are being used in the DTF process. So from a commercial grade point of view, these transfers are very good and great for wearability through the garment. Now, why is DTF taking over and why is it coming about from DTG? As we saw in the other room, we're printing purely a lot onto the natural fabrics like cotton t-shirts and hoodies and things like that, because the color fixation onto polys isn't as good. But when we're talking about transfers and we're heat applying them onto the garment, it opens us up to the full range of garments that can be decorated. So it's not just t-shirts, it's not just hoodies, but we can do polyesters, we can do blends, you can be pressing onto nylons, you can press onto bags, caps, hats, t-shirts, umbrellas, you name it. Guys, using a transfer is opening up the actual product range list that you can press onto, whether it be 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 units, or you're doing 200, 300, 500, or 1,000. The DTF solution is a great choice for printing a full wide range of garments. Now guys, if we have a look in this room here, we've obviously got the DTF set up. We've also then got the heat presses around the back. If we see here, we've got the Hotronix 360 IQ. Now we're pressing caps here. So again, caps, you can't print onto caps using the DTG process, but here easily can be printing onto caps using DTF transfers. And again, not just one color or two colors, you could have a 2-color design, but it can also be full color, it could be a digital photo. The options are endless with the DTF process. So guys, this particular business, Queensland T-shirt company, they're using DTF obviously for full color designs, everything from small run to high run, but it comes down to the type of garment they want to print up. Okay, so if it's anything that's got a poly blend in it, if it's a cap, if it's a bag, if it's any sort of promotional item, that's where they're choosing direct to film transfers over the DTG and also over the screen print as well. Guys, DTF or direct to film transfers is a big one that's coming through. It's a very exciting space from low cost of setup, very accessible, commercially viable to buy the actual equipment itself and get it into your own business. And then all you need is a heat press, a quality heat press like this one right here to apply onto the different garments. Now, massive thank you to our friends at QT Co here in Brisbane for letting us see exactly how their business, all in one roof, under one roof, uses those 3 different types of printing technology, whether it be screen print, DTG or DTF, and why they can use all 3 within their business for the right customer job. Now guys, let's start talking about pros and cons of each of those and summarize and bring them all together. All right guys, so there you've just seen all the 3 different types of printing process in one business and why they've got all 3 of those. Now let's just summarize that, okay? If you've got questions, make sure that you add them in, make sure you write them up so that we can answer them on the spot. Guys, pretty much pros and cons of each. Let's summarize them really quickly, okay? We've got screen printing. Screen printing is the choice for doing small color units, so small color designs or low colors designs, so 1 color, 2 color designs, and the higher quantity volume orders, okay? We don't want to be doing 1s and 2s and 3s, 5s or 10 units screen print. It's just not cost effective because of the setup. So cons, you've got a setup cost with screen printing, okay? And con, it is 1s and 2 colors only, okay? So it is limiting on the design. But pros for screen printing, pros, the unit price per garment printed is significantly lower, Okay, so it's great for promotional printing, great for volume printing, events and things like that, okay? Screen printing from a washability, brilliant, all that sort of stuff. It just purely comes down to the type of design and the quantity that they choose, okay? So that's the pros and cons of screen printing. If it's in your business, pros, you could do high volume runs, but cons, it does take up quite a big footprint, okay? So as far as being a screen printer, you've got to have screen making areas, you've got to have the actual printing carousels, you've got to have the curing areas. So guys, that's a con as well for screen printing. Now guys, let's talk about DTG, okay? Pros of DTG, right? It allows you all the colors, right? Infinite colors on design, okay? Can go onto your light and dark colored garments, no problems at all, okay? Great for small units, as well as getting up into some of your higher units. Like you could do 10, 20, 30, 40 units if you wanted to, but it's really designed for that fast turnaround, multi-design sort of ordering. You might get 20, 30, 40 different orders a day. That's not a problem at all, you know, so long as it's smaller volumes of printing per design. That's what DTG is really suited for. A con to DTG is obviously the requirement, you really want to be printing natural fibered garments, okay? So the type of garment the customer brings in, you know, if it's cotton t-shirts, cotton hoodie, cotton jumper, anything like that, totally fine. But if you get into synthetics, that's where you'll really need to speak to your DTG printer and see if they actually handle polyesters and things like that, and make sure that the result that you're going to get from that is what you're after, because there can be issues with color fastness and things like that onto synthetics with DTG. Now, obviously moving along to DTF, okay, like I said, this is sort of the most recent technical advancement in garment decoration, right? Now, it's a heat transfer that has to be heat applied using a heat press, of course. Now, the printing process you've just seen, obviously, much pros of it as far as outsourcing, full color, the cost is associated to the size, okay? So this is actually a really good pro, because if you're doing small logos, they cost significantly less than doing big designs. So you are really paying for the size, and that's because you can nest up all those logos as you saw as well, right? So from a ordering point of view, you're only paying for the size of the print. It can also be for small runs as well as your higher volume runs as well, so really good from quantity point of view. Design doesn't matter, can be full color or one color, and pro, it can go on all types of fabrics, okay? We're talking cottons, blends, we're talking polyester, so natural fibers and synthetics. It can go on to both of those. And placement, most importantly, I think about placement when I'm thinking about being able to use a transfer, unlike DTG and DTF, screen printing, sorry. DTF transfers can be applied on such a range of garments, okay? So obviously, customer comes in, they want a jumper, they want some t-shirts, but they also want an umbrella, or they want some compendiums, or they want a cooler bag or something like that. Guys, you can use the same transfers across all of those garments. So that's a real pro for the DTF side of things. Con to DTF, unlike screen printing and direct to garment, it is that real two-step process. So printing of the transfers is one process, and then heat applying that transfer onto the garment is a second step in a separate process. So you've got to understand and remember that there's two processes to printing a garment using DTF. It's those two steps. Guys, obviously, if we're thinking about all three, they've developed across the years because of technology. They've developed across customer demand and needs, and also businesses' needs in terms of what they need to order to make their businesses profitable. Guys, I love the printing game. I love all three processes. They have a real place within businesses still to this day, because all three uniquely suit the right type of order from your customers, okay? So whether it be quantity, the type of design, whether it be one or multicolored, and the garment it's going on to, hopefully can help you dictate exactly the right printing process for that customer's order. And if you do choose the right printing process, then it's certainly going to be the most cost-effective way, because it's obviously the easiest to do it. and therefore that it's going to be sold at a better price, and therefore you've got better margin in terms of selling to your customer, and that's really, really important.